You're listening to Language Caster's Learning English Through Football podcast. Hello everyone and welcome to the show for all those who love the beautiful game of football and who want to improve their English language skills. My name is Damien and I am based in London where the weather has been quite stormy. I wonder what the weather is like in Tokyo, Japan, where, of course, the other member of the Language Caster team, Damon, is based. We'll be hearing from Damon later on in the show when he gives us his predictions for some of the big games this weekend. And I wonder if he'll let us know what the weather is like in Tokyo too.
State ascoltando languagecaster.com.
That message was in Italian, and we'll be hearing some more languages throughout the show. Try and guess which ones they are. And don't worry, we'll give you the answers at the end of the show.
지금 여러분은 languagecaster.com을 듣고 계십니다.
Now, what else do we have on today's show? Well, we will look back at some of the language from the 2024 Copa Libertadores final between Botafogo and Atletico Mineiro, which was won, of course, by Botafogo in dramatic style. We'll also be looking at some language from the FA Cup in England, which is the oldest competition in football, and in particular at language around the word draw. And then, of course, we'll give you some predictions from some of the big games this weekend.
คุณกำลังฟัง languagecaster.com
To clinch the title. Let's take a look at this phrase, to clinch the title. The verb to clinch means to succeed in doing something. And so in football, if a team clinches a title, it means that they have won the title. They have been successful in their season or tournament. For example, Manchester City clinched their first Champions League title in 2023, while Real Madrid clinched their 15th Champions League title last season. I wonder who will clinch the Champions League title this season. We should also congratulate LA Galaxy, who clinched the MLS title this weekend. Well done to them. Now, in this season's Copa Libertadores final, held in Buenos Aires, Rio de Janeiro side Botafogo won their first ever continental title by defeating Atletico Mineiro. They're from the south of Brazil. They beat them 3-1 in an amazing match. Botafogo clinched the title in dramatic style. They were reduced to 10 men after only 2 minutes when their midfield player Gregore was shown a red card for a dangerous or reckless challenge. After this, they defended in numbers and then scored on the break before doubling their lead from the penalty spot just before half-time. Atletico Mineiro pulled one back in the second half, but the Rio side hung on and even managed to score a late goal from substitute Junior Santos to run out 3-1 winners. So we can say that the substitute's goal clinched the game, or clinched the title for Botafogo.
Je luistert naar languagecaster.com.
It was a wonderful game with lots of incidents, and I think Botafogo, who are on the verge of winning the Brazilian title this weekend, deserve their win. Well done to them on clinching the title. Now, with this win, Botafogo will also participate in the revamped Club World Cup competition next year in the USA. The draw for this tournament took place this week. And remember that a draw is how organisers decide which teams will play against each other. So Botafogo have been drawn with PSG, Atletico Madrid and Seattle Sounders in Group B. This means that they will play against these three teams in the group stage of the tournament.
Você está escutando languagecaster.com.
FA Cup draw. Now, we have just mentioned the draw that took place this week for the Club World Cup. But there was another big draw this week here in England, the third round FA Cup draw, which is when the bigger teams enter the competition. And so today we're going to look at the phrase third round draw. So the word draw refers to the way in which teams know who their opponents are going to be in a tournament. In a knockout competition like the FA Cup, the teams are drawn from a bag to see which teams play each other and which teams are playing at home or away. The third round draw is a big deal in England as it involves 64 teams, 20 from the Premier League, 24 from the Championship, that's Tier 2, and then 30 other teams from various leagues. Remember that the FA Cup qualifying rounds start way back in July with lots of non-league clubs. So this third round can throw up some really interesting ties or matches when smaller teams or minnows play against bigger teams or favourites. And this means that they can receive a big payout. That is, they can earn a lot of money. And of course, they might also be able to cause an upset. The third round of the Cup usually takes place in early January and is a big or important date in the football calendar, as lots of fans from around the country love watching the big teams travelling to smaller grounds or venues. This year's third round draw has some wonderful games, including Arsenal hosting last year's winners Manchester United, and Manchester City playing against local side Salford FC from League 2. I'm not sure there'll be an upset there, but you never know. League leaders Liverpool will also play a League 2 side, Accrington Stanley. But perhaps the standout tie of the round, that's the game that most people want to see, sees Premier League side Tottenham travel to non-league side Tamworth, who are currently 16th in the National League, and that's the 5th tier of English football. This is a real David and Goliath tie, with the Premier League expected to win, but in the Cup, nobody knows what might happen, which of course is the romance of the Cup. Will Spurs slip up? Well, with no replays and penalties an option on the day, plus of course Tottenham's inconsistent nature, it means that anything is a possibility.
Tá tú a géisteacht le languagecaster.com.
Yep, you can find out more about some of the words and phrases that we have already discussed in today's show, as well as hundreds more football expressions and clichés by coming along to our football language glossary.
Vous écoutez languagecaster.com.
Right, let's take a look at some of the big games this weekend in our predictions. And just to let you know that Damon's predictions were given before we knew that the Merseyside derby had been postponed due to the storms here in the UK. Here's Damon.
Hi everyone, this is Damon and I'm going to give my predictions again this week from a chilly but sunny Tokyo. I'm still behind the guests and Damien in the predictions competition, but only one behind the guests and 4 points behind Damien, so touching distance. This week we've got an all Premier League selection and I'm going to start with the Merseyside derby. This will be the last time probably that it is held at Everton's iconic ground Goodison Park, so the Toffees will be up for this one. They'll really want to win. Liverpool come into the match after a disappointing last-minute goal meant they didn't get all 3 points at Newcastle and had to settle for a 3-3 draw. As a Liverpool fan, I hate these away games at Everton, but I'm hoping the Reds win this 2-0. Manchester United, with their new manager, take on Nottingham Forest, who have had an impressive start to the campaign, but maybe now feeling the pace. They've had 3 losses in their last 5. Another loss, I think, 3-0 to Manchester United. A London derby next, with inconsistent Tottenham hosting Chelsea, who have won 3 on the bounce and are second in the league. I think Damien's team are going to suffer another 2-1 defeat and Chelsea will stay second. Finally, another London derby sees Fulham, the Cottagers, host Arsenal, the Gunners. Although Fulham play nice football, I think this Arsenal team have hit their stride with Odegaard back in midfield and Saka in a good streak of form. 3-0 to the visitors. Those are my predictions. What are yours?
Okay, so as we mentioned, the Merseyside derby was postponed thanks to the bad weather from Storm Dara. But the other predictions, right. Well, my heart says that my favourite team, Spurs, can beat Chelsea in the big London derby this weekend. But I think my head would agree with Damon. I think Chelsea will probably win that one. Let us know what you think by dropping us a line here at languagecaster.com.
Hola a todos. Estáis escuchando languagecaster.com.
Right, it's nearly the end of the show, but before we go, remember, if you have any questions about the language of football or comments on the podcast, you can contact us via email at admin@languagecaster.com. Also, don't forget our football language forum where you can ask and answer any questions you have on the language of football. And as Damien said, we have a massive glossary of football vocabulary too. Just come along to languagecaster.com. And finally, if you like what we do, consider telling a friend, following us on social media, liking our podcasts, etc. Your support is very important for us.
languagecaster.com.
Thanks for that message, which was in Bemba. We also heard some stingers in Italian, Spanish, Irish, Thai, Dutch, French, and Korean. How many of those did you guess right? Now, I mentioned last week that we have been making some changes at LanguageCaster, and in particular some behind-the-scenes changes, which hopefully means things will be a little quicker. You might notice a couple of other new features, including the fact that we are now doing 2 shows a week. This one will continue to come out before the weekend football and will include some language and, of course, some predictions. The other show will appear each Monday and will feature a football expression from the week. So last week, Damon talked about the phrase on toast. Let us know what you think and let others know. Thanks everyone for listening today. We looked at the phrases to clinch the title and also the FA Cup draw. Let us know if you hear these expressions in any language during this week's football. And don't forget, there's a transcript for this podcast with lots of vocabulary support for you. Enjoy all the football this weekend, and we'll be back early next week with a new football language expression. Bye-bye.